Today we're going to be talking about how will home prices in Southwest Florida be affected by this 2022 recession. And if you want to know all there is to know about living here in Southwest Florida, or maybe perhaps buying a home or selling a home, you've come to the right place. Hit that subscribe button below or hit that bell button on the side. And what happens is you'll be notified whenever we put out new content. So today let's talk about Southwest Florida home prices, shall we?
Yes.
Okay, cool. The first thing we want to talk about with you all is mortgage rates, since that's the hot topic. Interest rates have been going up. In fact, if we look all the way back to January, what have interest rates been doing? They went up from 3.22% all the way to just under 6%. And that caused a lot of people to start doing that.
Really, pumping the brakes.
Yeah, pumping those brakes. And then we see a drop in the economy. Now we're seeing more listings come on the market. They may be sitting a little bit longer. And, as a result, we're seeing a lot of headlines and stuff, right? Well, probably the number one headline is this whole, what in the heck is a recession, right?
Yeah, so why don't we talk about what a recession is? What has been the definition of a recession since the beginning of time?
Yes. So a recession historically has been two consecutive quarters of negative GDP. In other words, the economy is not growing, right, for two consecutive quarters. And then right now the administration's trying to change something, and they want to change the definition to something like this: a significant decline in economic activity spread across the economy lasting more than a few months, normally visible in real GDP, real income, employment, industrial production, and wholesale retail sales. Doesn't matter where you fall, whether you're okay with them changing definitions or not, because here's the thing. While everybody's arguing over what the heck a recession actually is, if you look at recessions all the way back to 1947, what you'll see, all in but one case, even under the new definition, that it's a recession in every case.
A recession has always followed two consecutive negative quarters,
with the exception of 1947 for some reason.
Yes.
I need to dig deeper on that one, but you can see it, all those recessions, all but that one,
from 1949 on.
So as a result, we got all these national headlines: Americans worrying about losing their jobs as recessions grow, why investors are increasingly worried about recession in America, recession fears surge among CEOs, surveys suggest.
You hear a common theme there? Worry, fear, recession.
Yes, the trigger words that get people to look at the car accident, right? Everybody's expecting this car accident to happen. So it's no wonder a lot of people are pumping the brakes, not just because of interest rates, but because of the fear that's instilled in them.
Sure, they're scared. They're fearful of the unknown.
So everybody wants to know, and I guess that starts the question is when is the right time to buy, or when is the right time to sell, and how will home prices be affected? Well, here's an interesting quote from Fortune, and it says that over the past 5 recessions, mortgage rates have fallen an average of 1.8 percentage points from the peak season during the recession to the trough. And in many cases, they continue to fall after the fact, as it takes more time to turn things around even when the recession is technically over. Why is it important for us to keep talking about rates when we're talking about prices? I think we should clarify that real quick. 60% of the buyers, give or take, here in Southwest Florida are cash buyers, right? That means there's this whole other buyer out there that has to get financing to buy homes, and those people have been pumping the brakes and causing mortgage officers, loan officers to freak out because their business just went boop and they're hearing crickets, right? And so we know that prices are a function of supply and demand. So the more buyers there are for a particular home, the higher the prices go. So if you take out all the mortgage buyers, you would think that home prices are going to come down because there isn't as many buyers in the market for any particular property, right? So what this shows is that interest rates have actually went down during the recession. And it's important to know that we just said that interest rates were at 4.99 as of Friday. I just read an article that said that. So now that interest rates are going down, doesn't that go against that whole thought process that we're going to have a market crash?
Not necessarily. Let's look at the next slide.
Right, look at the next slide. Well, what happens is, if you look here, the last 6 recessions, since those are the most current, if you look at the last 6 recessions, in all cases from that peak point of when a recession was actually named, basically, all the way down, interest rates started falling all the way to the trough or the bottom of that recession, and sometimes after that, in all the 6 cases. So a recession doesn't mean that interest rates are going to go up. So if interest rates continue to go down, at some point, the mortgage buyers should be
They should be happy. A lot of buyers should be happy just with what's happened over the last week or so, because rates shot up close to 6%. People were pumping the brakes, like we mentioned. They were scared. Now they're starting to see things, see rates fall back down again. And historically, according to that slide we just looked at, every time there's been a recession, rates have fallen.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just the data. That's the facts.
And then as a result, when the interest rates start going down, and what's the media do? They start spinning it again, and they still got to they're not done with the fear and stuff, so they put out things like mortgage rates dropped last week as fears grow that the U.S. economy is entering a recession. The drop Thursday also came on the heels of the Bureau of Economic Analysis gross domestic product report, which showed the U.S. economy contracted for a second straight quarter. This is a widely accepted signal of a recession. And then the next one, mortgage rates are brought down by recession fears. And so there they go, pumping those fear headlines out there. And here's a great slide that really shows the need of this whole thing. And what will happen with home prices? Well, if we look at the last 6 recessions, in all but 2 cases, home prices went up. In 2020, they went up by 6%. In 2001 recession, they went up by 6.6%. 1981, they went up by 3.5%. In 1980, they went up by 6.1%. Now, they did go down twice. In 1991, they went down by 1.9%. That means some homes went up in value, some went down in value. The average went down is 1.9% nationally. In 2008, though, that's the one we really want to look at, and that's the outlier. What's the deal there? What do you think? Why did home prices drop there?
Well, that was a special case. So, like we talked about in one of our previous videos, so we had a lot of unqualified buyers during that time that were still getting loans on stated income and 90-10 loans and things like that. So, we were basically giving mortgages away that leading up to that bubble bursting in 2008. So that was kind of its own special circumstance, but we did also mention in that same video that lending restrictions have tightened since then. They've continued to be very tight, and they actually got tighter during the 2020 pandemic, not looser. So
yeah, and so as a result, we had a way more qualified buyer for the last however many years. People had to put more money down. They had to be more qualified to even get the mortgage.
They had to prove that they made what they made, right?
Yeah, and then on last week's video, we talked about the foreclosure, what could happen with foreclosures. So go back and watch that video, and we outline how many foreclosures are on the market and all that stuff, and kind of give you the indication if that's going to change our market. So home prices here in Southwest Florida, Lona and I like to make it everything apply locally and give you an update what's happening here locally with home prices. So the easiest way to do that is to look at this graph here, and you can see there's a little drop off in the median sales price from last month, which is to be expected because we are going into the slowest months of our season. Our buying season, our home selling season is exact opposite of the north season, like up in the Midwest and things like that. Here is our slowest time in the season when it's the most hot and humid, and then when we get in the wintertime, that's when the season starts to pick up. So in July, the home prices, the median home price dropped a little bit from June to $420,000 in July. Now, here's what's important, and this is how we analyze this. We don't want to look at June versus July. We want to look at July versus July. We want to look at July 22 versus July 21 to really see what our market is doing in terms of home prices. So if it's $420,000 now, what was it in July of 2021? Well, when I go back to July 2021, I can see that the median sales price was $360,000 then, and now it's 420,000. That represents a 16% increase in home values July of last year to July of this year. That's a really solid gain in home prices, right?
It's substantial.
Wouldn't that be nice if you lived in a house and it went up by 16% every year? That would be freaking phenomenal. But that's not our normal, right? We still got the fallout from COVID, and we still have low inventory and things like that. In fact, since we're talking about inventory, let's look at the months of supply of inventory. A balanced market where the seller doesn't have an advantage and a buyer doesn't have an advantage is typically considered 6 months of inventory. Well, right now, as of July of 2022, we are sitting at 2.2 months of inventory. Now, is that lower or higher than the previous month? You can see that it was 2.4 in June, so it actually dropped. And so technically, it's saying it's more in favor of sellers than it was last month. Not much, negligible. However, it's not giving that steep the other direction to give buyers that advantage that buyers are wanting.
That's right. We still have a supply and demand issue, which means that prices are not gonna fall out of the bottom. Yep. We still have a lot of people looking for housing. Now, if you were thinking about buying this July and prices went up 16% more than they were last July, would that make you think twice about buying now? Or would that give you hope that maybe you'll gain 16% appreciation between this July and next July?
It just depends on how you look at it, right? And what your long-term strategy is. And that's why it's important for us to have a conversation with you. If you're thinking about buying or selling here, we have a strategy. We'll talk through the strategy with you so you can make that determination whether it's a good thing to do or not.
Yeah, we'll do the math with you. The math never lies.
Yep. And so, we hope we found this video very useful. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I will post a link to all the information that we showed you here so that you can look it up for yourself. But if you want to know all there is to know about living or buying or selling here in Southwest Florida, hit that subscribe button below, hit that bell button on the side, and we will keep you up to date on what's happening in our market. I'm Doug Lugers.
I'm Lona Lugers.
Thanks for watching.